Hey everyone, welcome back to the RePHIL studio. It's your host SB Philos4. Get your cans ready as we always do, and let's refill to 99, and we're ready for this next set. So for those again who are a bit unaware about my recent channel update, definitely check that out. But in summary, RePHIL Studio podcast episodes will now happen on a monthly basis. You can still check them out on your favorite podcast platforms. Like Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and of course on YouTube. But the podcast now will come out on a monthly basis rather than a weekly basis. And because of the format change there, I'm also going to be changing a little bit of how the podcast will run in terms of what features are in the episode. So there'll still be a special guest feature. So definitely stay tuned. There'll be a special guest feature later in this episode. But also I want to bring back some discussion points and talk about other parts about the franchise and some really interesting questions and developments in the franchise and the series and the game as a whole that I kind of want to bring up and hear some thoughts from everyone else. So hopefully we'll see how this new format goes. But again, look forward to more RePHIL Studio podcast episodes in the future with hopefully some better and even more exciting content. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is, of course, the news corner, because, of course, at this time of September of 2022, the 4.5-year anniversary of ENdori is finally out. Now, I've already shared a few videos of what is expected from the 4.5-year anniversary, and that has already been implemented, and everything is great and awesome. I think the one thing I really want to talk about the most is the fact that ENdori has made something a bit revolutionary, something a bit different from what we've never seen, and it is this banner right here. You'll see it on the YouTube video, and you see that it is a banner featuring Aya and Mocha, and you might be thinking, Phil, this isn't anything different or abnormal about this banner. But if you look at the Japanese version of this banner, which is, I'll show it on the screen as well, you see that it's actually quite different. You see the same Kirameki Festival Aya card, but it is paired up with an Eve card instead. So this is the first time that ENdori has completely changed and made their own unique asset and made their own unique banner that's completely different from any other version or any other server of Bang Dream. So this is the first time they've ever done that, and that's partially because they had to delay the Kirameki Festival gacha to a few weeks later because they want to time it with the 4.5-year anniversary, so they kind of shifted that a little bit and thus actually completely coded their own part of the game and were able to just make a new banner entirely, which is honestly kind of crazy. I know in the past, and of course there has been discussions that ENdori wants to sort of be separate and want to be their own unique entity compared to JP Dori, and that's their sort of excuse when we talked about how they were shuffling the schedule around and shuffling when updates were coming around. Their excuse was, of course, they want to be a bit different. But obviously now with the fact that they actually made their own unique asset, that really kind of adds to that agenda or adds to that I guess storyline that they do want to be a little bit separate from the rest of the people here, so or rest of the servers. So I think it's quite interesting. I do wonder if there's any point where ENdori will continue to do that. One possible talking point was the fact that after this event, which the recent event was Scribble in the Blue, the next one is Snow Rose Harmony, which is the Christmas Roselia event, and that one already was supposed to come with the Dream Festival. So initially I thought maybe they would even move the Dream Festival because it's so close to the Kirameki Festival, and then maybe push it back a few events and then make their own new asset once again. That has just been recently deconfirmed. So they're gonna be a Dream Fest right after the Kirameki Festival, which is a little bit I don't know how to feel about that, because you're trying to a lot of these target audience, they're just starting school, either in high school or university or college, and they're just starting classes, and you're trying to bait them to get gacha right off the bat when that time starts. It's it's quite interesting. Yeah, and also, of course, we have to speed up in the schedule. Snow Rose, like a Christmas event is happening in October. It's that's just kind of how it is. I've already made my points about that before, where I don't know. It's hard to say whether or not it is a something that is worth arguing about, because, like, for instance, a Korean server or a Chinese server, they have other holidays and completely random times too. But again, this is just going back to the agenda that ENdori wants to be a bit different from their base game and their base server. So, I'm interested and curious to see whether or not ENdori will continue to do something revolutionary, completely different, right? Like, for instance, one of the hopes is that, let's say, an update that was supposed to come in the 5.5 year anniversary, maybe if they work hard enough and they really want to be distinct from the serve, they could bring it earlier, right? Bring it in the 5 year anniversary, maybe bring updates sooner. Who knows? They may change gacha banners and such in the future, and of course, scheduling events that could also like change and such. So without notice. So I'm curious if that's going to be a thing. Now, of course, we know how sometimes the I guess the production team in ENdori might be a little bit lacking on the side. So I think it's maybe wishful thinking to try and see if we can get updates earlier, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, ENdori is definitely going in a very it's going in a direction, and I'm not sure if this is going to be a one-off thing, or perhaps they will really try to differentiate themselves from JP Dori. So let me know, guys. What do you guys think? Is there something that you might think that ENdori might do that will completely change and like will make it so different from its JP counterpart and really try to separate itself? So yeah, like for instance, band story backstage pass 5. The fact that Backstage Pass 4 was delayed, as well as an example, it was delayed so that it would line up with the anniversary, and now we're speeding up and we're going to hit Backstage Pass 5 closer than ever before, so perhaps they'll change that. I think the one thing that I really hope that if they do make some changes, some like their own unique original changes, is that they actually let people know well in advance. There was one time where ENdori actually laid out a schedule for us, be like, okay, these are going to be events that are happening, and then like it kind of shows why Backstage Pass 4 was being delayed, and they showed a schedule. They showed like a month in advance that they do that. Like, okay, if they do that, then that's okay. I think that's perfectly fine. Let people know in advance. One of the old habits that ENdori did is that they literally don't tell anyone until like super last minute. It's like, oh yeah, actually we're changing this event. Oh yeah, we're actually changing this gacha. And it's just like, it was really annoying. So if they follow the example of Project Sekai, their competitors, the EN version, right? Like I think that gives a better light. Just getting the people know well in advance if they're going to do something major. Right, of course, with Project Sekai, they did their very big move of canceling an entire event because, a particular card arts had inappropriate references to indigenous culture, and they had to make a big decision on that. Very controversial. I do respect that decision because, it is important to recognize and treat those individuals with respect. In Canada, we also have on September we have a National Truth and Reconciliation Day as well. So I should be wearing orange, but I don't have an orange shirt. Just total aside. But either way, like I don't know if ENdori will ever do something as crazy as that with like what SAGA did. But if they do, then I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that would actually be as similar to that. But they have to give us enough notice, right? Don't just do it like last minute. I think that's the main thing that I think ENdori should just be a little bit worried about. So yeah, that's what I think with the ENdori, what's going on, and let me know in the comments, of course, what y'all think about possibly a new direction with ENdori. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the studio question. So I asked the studio question to all of my lovely Discord server members, And the question was, how was their luck in terms of their gacha right now? And I've also asked this in the community post as well, which I'll share the results very soon. But so far, based on what I've seen, the results are pretty mixed, right? There's a lot of people who have really bad luck and some people who have better luck. And, as time goes, because we are, I think this is like the 5th day or 6th day of free polls since the anniversary. So, at this point, there hopefully should be individuals who've gotten some 4 stars, some new 4 stars. On my community post, I think it's like a really even, like 33% split, although there's a little bit of slight bias for those who said they don't have any 4 stars, which I kind of feel bad for. I hopefully don't wish any bad gacha luck, especially if it's free. But I'll also share some comments from my Discord server as well to let them know, or just share how they get done so far. It seems like some people have gotten pretty good and others not so much. But again, time has passed, so maybe that has changed and maybe you've gotten some 4 stars. Of course, if you have any 4 stars that you're really happy that you got, let me know and share it with everyone. Yeah. I ended up using the Miracle ticket because I needed a particular card for my tier egg. So yeah, I had to use some paid stars for for a Miracle ticket and get a 4 star. But I've been getting quite a few 4 stars, some new 4 stars, which is pretty interesting. Earlier today, I got a yellow headlight and ended up flipping to the what was it? It was the event I tiered, Melody and Fragment. Wind event with Kaoru as the 4 star. So I ended up getting Kaoru, which is pretty nice. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, feel free to share your polls below if you want. And yeah, that will be the studio question for this time. And of course, every month I'll have a studio question for the Discord as well as for the community post. So feel free to contribute to those, and hopefully we'll see you or comment on this episode here. In other news, and I should have prepared this well in advance, I'm going to bring it up right now. In other news, Bang Dream has done their 10th live earlier this month. And, when it comes to talking about other things about Bang Dream, I do want to sort of branch out to other parts other than the game. And I want to briefly talk about the 10th live because that happened earlier this month in Ariake Arena. And yeah, it was a really looked like a really fun event. It had 4 live concerts, a lot of fun there. So first day, Roselia had the Sonen Shen. Excuse my terrible German pronunciation. Morphonica had Reverberation. Poppin' Party had Hoppin' Poppin' Dreamin', and Reza Suilin had Soul Roar. So let's talk about the set list real quick and talk about some implications about it. I just want to briefly mention some of this here. So I'll share this set list on the screen for those who are watching on YouTube. So let's first look at Roselia's set list, and every band had 15 songs in this 10th live, and it's great to see, again, just on the side note, it's just great to see that the concerts are kind of coming back as the world is kind of going back to a new normal. So I'm really happy for that, and hopefully we'll hear some more concerts and maybe some delayed viewings in the future. Roselia, so a few notable things on their set list. They performed Opera of the Wasteland, which may not seem like a big deal, but I think this is only their second time they performed it, because the first time they performed it was earlier last year, and it's a very old song, but it took them quite a while to actually get that prepared, so that's a pretty interesting one. Swear Night and Day is a very interesting song. They performed that, the full version, and that is actually, the full version is coming up. Their single is coming up on October 26th. So next month we're getting the single for that. So that's pretty neat for sure. I think all the other songs they performed before, maybe the Historic is something they haven't performed. And Rose and Horizon, I think, is their second time. And obviously that's a really fun song there. So great stuff to Roselia. In terms of Morphonica, one thing to keep in mind with Morphonica is that most of the songs here are pretty, stuff we've seen. Although Circle of Butterflies is pretty neat because that was the commissioned song by Fahana, and we literally got the full version earlier this month, and they immediately basically performed it. So that's really cool that we were able to hear that. Um, Yorube no Sunny Sunny was one of the songs that they actually allowed people to record. So we should be able to see recordings of this performance in on Twitter and on social media. So if people posted it, then we actually get to hear it. One other notable thing that I want to mention is that they sang Unravel. They sang a few covers actually. Gekoga, Never Everland, and Unravel. And Unravel is actually interesting because they don't have a full version of Unravel, which leads to my speculation section of this podcast. Interrupt this section. Because let's be honest, guys, it's been almost a whole year since we last gotten a cover collection. Cover collection volume 6 came out on November of 2021, I believe. It's been almost a year and we have no news at all about a new cover collection. So I'm getting a little worried. I really want another cover collection soon, but we haven't had news about it. But what I speculate is that because they performed the full version of Unravel, I feel like Unravel will probably be in the next cover collection. I think it was also one of those anniversary songs as well. So it would make sense that it would be part of the cover collection because Volume Collection 6 had a lot of the anniversary added songs in that collection. So I feel like Unravel will probably like make a feature on that, and maybe we'll hear news about the new cover collection sooner or later. For those who are unaware, there is going to be another concert, another live concert in November 12th. It's going to be at the I forget where it was from, where it's gone, but it's basically Viva La Live that was postponed from 2020, and now it's got moved to this year in November 12th, and this will feature all the 7 bands. So I feel like this would be a great time for them to introduce new covers and maybe announce the volume collection. Number 7, it's going to be held at the Belluna Dome. So we'll see if that is true or not. So that's my speculation, but we'll see how that goes if I'm right or not. Yeah, so let's see how that goes. But there you go. That's the Morphonica section there. Also, speaking of Morphonica, in October we do expect to hear news about the collab on what collab news we're gonna get for Morphonica. So again, comment section, let us know what you think might be the collab, or maybe your dream collab with Morphonica. I'm kind of leaning towards Madoka Magica, but we'll see how it goes. Poppin' Party, notable songs on Poppin' Party's set list. First of all, Moonlight Walk is what they performed and also got added to the game shortly after their concert. So if you play JP Dori and suddenly realize, whoa, Moonlight Walk got added to the game, well, there you go. There's a reason why. It was right after this concert here, and it's really cool. I think it's definitely one of the more popular songs, despite being just like a random song in a single. So it's good to hear that it was added to the game. Poppin' Party is always a very difficult to do a concert because they have such a large sort of like a set list, right, of songs. So you have to really only choose like a couple, but they chose some pretty good songs, and Introduction was one of them, which is the commissioned song from ISA. So another one of these tie-up songs being performed in this in the live, which is really nice. Lastly, Reza Swelen. Reza Swelen, relatively, normal set list. They do have some breaks in the middle, and they don't really do like MCing during the breaks. They always like to show off in terms of, doing their their little breaks there. And they did actually one more song than the others. One thing that's really interesting again is Invincible Fighter and Taking My Heart. These two songs were surprisingly not in the game for the longest time, and after these performances, they were also added into JP Dori. So again, for ENdori fans like Moonlight Walk, Invincible Fighter, Taking My Heart, we'll see these probably a year from now, but yeah, that's sort of the idea here. I think most of the other songs they definitely performed before. I believe Light a Fire this is probably wasn't the first time they performed. I think the Way of Life, that was probably the first time they've performed that. So correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I think overall, Raises Freeland, pretty nice set list there too. So again, I hope that maybe there'll be some delayed viewings here and outside of Japan for these concerts. I think these concerts do look amazing. So we'll see what we could do to hopefully see some more delayed viewings of these live. So I definitely look forward to that. All right, so that was the set list of the live. And again, as I mentioned, another concert's coming up on November 12th. So probably in the November episode of the RePHIL Studio podcast, I will share the set list there. All right, last but certainly not least, in this section of the RePHIL Studio, I do want to give some shout outs to everyone who've tiered in the in previous events that happened this month. So I will also just be giving shout outs to those who tiered in the events that happened in this month of September, and then of course next month will be October, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just gonna give shout outs to Podium. Of course, if you've tiered in that event and get T10 and T100, definitely give some shout outs in the comments, and I'll definitely give some congratulations, and of course people congratulate you as well. So first of all, even after being recarded 100 times, I think that was the title name, featuring Tae and Ray. Congratulations to Hypnos for T1, Rainbow Worm for T2, and Len for T3. And I hope I got this right. If I butcher these results, I'm gonna feel so embarrassed, and it's gonna be a little shameful. But congratulations to these three for participating. Of course, we had some previous podcast guests, actually the most recent guest before this episode, tiering this event, and they were able to get T10 as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't watched that episode yet. In terms of the Tale of the Samurai Hearted Idol, something like that, featuring Pastel Palettes. I'm going to butcher these titles, so apologies. But big shout outs to Crump for getting first place. She was a previous podcast guest, so you could definitely check out her previous episode and kind of compare what she said before and, compare to what we see now. Congratulations to Kay. You're probably going to hear Kay very often for the next couple of months, getting second place on the event. Also a previous podcast guest, as well as Ayachi, who got third place. And I believe Ayachi, this is their first T3, their first podium. So big congratulations to them representing the Philippines. So good stuff there. In terms of the How My Heart Sings event, the Poppin' Party Live Goals event, congratulations to Lang getting her first T1. Lang, also a previous podcast guest, so shout outs to her. Dandy getting T2, who, of course, broke the T4 curse. After her episode with me in the podcast, she got another T4, but then eventually broke and got T2, so congratulations to her. And then Hiyori getting third place. So I believe this is also their first podium. So congratulations to those three, as well as everyone else who tiered that event as well. Finally, last but certainly not least, we had a very entertaining event, Scribble in the Blue, that just ended at the time of this recording. And big congratulations to @Daniel for getting first place in the event. @Daniel, of course, once again, a relatively recent podcast guest. Scarlett will take second place. Again, another previous podcast guest. This is a bit of a trend, guys. Just a slight trend. But congratulations to Scarlett for second place. And for third, I believe it was Sheru who got third place. If they have like an actual like other tag they go by, definitely let me know. But I believe this is also Sheru's first podium. Oh, is that Sino? Was that actually Sino? Oh, wow. Okay, well, Sino, another former podcast guest, so everyone's familiar faces here. So, but Sino, big congrats on your T3 as well. So, yeah, Afterglow, it was a competitive event. All the events prior were not competitive. This one was actually had competing servers, and there was two people fighting against each other for first place, and @Daniel this time came up on top. But best luck to everyone else on the future endeavors, and I hope to share some more exciting results when October comes by. And October, we should expect to have at least 4 events, maybe even 5. We'll see how it goes, depending on how quickly things go. It's going to be probably around 4. I'll probably share about 4 results, so we'll see how it goes. But again, big shout outs to everyone there. But yeah, so this will conclude sort of the discussion-based part of the RePHIL Studio podcast. So hope you all enjoyed that. And of course, let me know in the comments below what you think about what we've discussed so far in regards to ENdori, regards to the studio question, the results, and of course, some speculation of what you think about what might happen with things like the Morphonica collab and the covers. So yeah. So in that case, we will move on to our special guest. So let's hop on over to the other side of the studio where we'll speak with our special guest. Hey everyone, it's Phil here. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. As a reminder, the RePHIL Studio podcast is available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. So check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And when you're there, feel free to give comments, leave a high rating. All that support is greatly appreciated. Now that the RePHIL Studio podcast is having a less frequent upload schedule, this will encourage you to hopefully join the Unga Academy Discord server. Links in the description below, so you're up to date on when the live recordings on the podcast are happening and when the next episode will be. Of course, in the live recordings, you can contribute to the discussion, including to the studio question, and of course, interact with special guests featured on this podcast. So hope to see you there. Now, big shout outs to our Filler Nation members. So you guys always get shout outs there. They've been constantly supporting me on my content. So greatly appreciate you guys. And if you want a chance to join the Filler Nation as well, feel free to either subscribe to my Twitch channel where I stream quite often. I also have a Patreon, links in the description below. And of course, if you're on YouTube, you can just give a quick super thanks. All that support, of course, is greatly appreciated and it means a lot to me. So thank you all so much for listening to RePHIL Studio. The episode will resume shortly. Ready for our set of special guests here for the RePHIL Studio podcast. And for this episode, I have the pleasure and honor to welcome davicat, hopefully that's pronounced correctly, and ukeeo joining us for the RePHIL Studio today. So as a brief introduction to both of them, davicat, and aka Davi, has received a second place achievement in the Sunset Bandwagon event, as well as 5th place in the Fly with the Night event. And ukeeo, very notably, got 3rd place in the Zombieland Saga. This is an Idol Saga collaboration event. All right, well, both of you, thank you so much for taking the time to join me in the RePHIL Studio today.
No, thank you for having us.
Thanks for DMing me.
All right.
It was so nice. So nice of you.
Well, we're glad to have both of you on. So just to kind of start things off and just, warm up here, we're going to first ask some very easy questions, which is something I usually do. And it's, how did you get into Bandori? So let's start with Davey first. How did you first get into Bandori? And where did this all start in terms of joining the series?
I've had this friend, her name is Dev, for 7 years. We've been friends for 7 years. And last year, I've only been playing Bandori for a year. And last year, she DM'd me for 2 months straight. She was like, you need to download this game. It's so good. It's so good. And I was like, no. Why would I no, I'm not going to listen to you. And then I finally did it, and it was the worst decision of my life.
I'm sure most people who've been on the podcast before, they would agree that this is, the worst decision ever to play Bang Dream Girls Band Party. But, for you, Davey, of course, it might, even if the persistence of your friend, who convinced you to keep playing the game until you finally gave in, obviously, if the game wasn't at least somewhat interesting, or at least maybe you didn't have some interest in it, imagine you wouldn't play for it for too long. So was there any particular part about the game, either the characters or band or maybe songs that in particular that sort of drawed you to continue playing the game?
I used to play Love Live. I used to be a Love Liver. So I already kind of was like into rhythm games, but I only kept Bandori on my phone because like Dev would be like, let's play multi-lives. And I'd say, okay. That's the only reason and then I just kind of got like this, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be free to play. That didn't happen.
Oh,
But
wow.
so yeah, I just kind of got this like desire to like do better and be better than her. Like I was like, I'm gonna be better than her at this game. So
Wow.
that's the only reason I kept it.
well, that's definitely quite interesting for sure. I think like that's a pretty similar story with another person we had on the guest on the podcast as well. They also like they wanted to show that they were better at the game, and then it just kind of fell into kind of the black hole of playing this game over and over again. So, but Davey, is there like a particular like again? I'll just quickly ask: is there a favorite character or band that you have in the series?
Well, when I first started, my favorite band, like everybody else, was Roselia.
Mm-hmm.
I love Tomoe, I love Toko, and I love Sayo. Those are my 3 faves.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first started playing, I hated them. I hated all 3 of them. They're at the bottom of the list. But there was a Toko event, a Tomoe event, and a Sayo event, like right when I first started playing. So I really think that's what formed me into who I am today.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. Again, it's really like the event stories and band stories in general, very underrated part of the series. The character progressions, and you really get to learn a lot more. And I wholeheartedly agree as well. I mentioned this plenty of times. I wasn't a big fan of Sayo back in the day, but after seeing her character development, the start is definitely very, very different. So yeah, but that's really good to hear, Davey. That your origin story, very, very, very intriguing for sure. Definitely give props to Dev for that. So, Ukeeo, let's move on to you. How did you get into Bang Dream Girls Van Party?
Yeah, so I was also into Love Live.
Mm-hmm.
I played the game, and then I also followed this account on Instagram. It's like an updates account.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would tell like, oh, next week we're gonna have this event, this gacha banner. And then one day they like shared this Bandori, I think it was the 3rd anniversary, like log in to get like free rewards and stuff. And me being the gacha player, I was like, oh, anniversary event, it's like they give you a bunch of stuff right off the start, so I can just reroll efficiently. So I just got into the game. I just rerolled. I didn't know what to pull for, but eventually I got a bunch of 4 stars. So I was like, sure, let's just roll with it.
Oh man, you're an unfortunate gacha addictor, like right at the start.
Right from the start,
oh,
yes.
Man.
Unlucky.
Very unlucky indeed. That's very unfortunate. You just so happened to stumble upon another gacha game, and here we are playing Bang Dream Girls Band Party. So was there anything, again, just like I asked earlier, anything in particular? Because again, you could have played a bunch of different gacha games, but what about Bang Dream stuck out for you?
Yeah. So Bang Dream was actually my first RePHIL game. I played like seriously, I guess. Not seriously, but like I played for more than 2 days. So just the gameplay was very fun, and also the cover songs, they really put me in. Because like I didn't know any original song, but I would check the song list and be like, oh, this from this anime I watched, and yeah. I remember, I think the first song I played was like Gurren no Yumiya. Like I pre-recorded it. I was playing on like easy. I was dying, but I was having fun.
Okay, it's so funny, Ukeeo, because like that kind of exact story, like it kind of feels like people have had that exact same origin story before. Like specifically, they got into the game, they're like, I don't know what this game's about, but then they see, oh, there's cover songs I know. Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, this Roselia band covered Gurren no Yumiya. I guess I should try playing that. It's like always that. I don't know why. It's like very specifically, people just go through that exact path. I'm sure, like people who are listening right now, I'm sure that you may know someone other than Ukeeo here that may have gone through that exact same path, because I feel like I just feel like that's like the exact same. Like a lot of people go through the exact path. So
same brain for you.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. That's why Rosalie has a song called Our Path, because everyone takes that same path for sure. Yuki, what about you? Favorite band, favorite character? What's your sort of I guess top interest right now?
Right now I would say it's Misaki. I just love her. I just love the like her and Michelle. They're just so cute. And then just how it sort of fits within Hello Happy World. Like everyone just goes crazy, and you have Misaki. It's like, guys, chill. I just love it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, those characters, Tsukomi characters. So it definitely helps to glue the team together, right? Make sure that everything's okay. So totally understandable there. So that's really neat. So both of you again, thank you again for sharing your origin story. Now, of course, getting to Bandori, being a fan of Bandori is one thing, which I think in general, we could probably agree that being a fan of Bang Dream Girls Band Party is probably an okay thing to have, right? It's okay. Now, what gets a little dicey is tiering, which I'm sure you both of you have a love-hate relationship with. But in terms of tiering, we'll go back to Davey for this. What about tiering? Like, what first got you into tiering? I know Love Live, and we had plenty of guests before that talked about the fact that Love Live was a game that had some tiering, but it was a little more informal. This one's definitely, Bandori definitely is more formal tiering. But Davey, what kind of got you into tiering? What sort of inspired you that this was something you wanted to do?
Well, when I first started, I was gacha whaling like crazy, and I was gacha whaling for recognition because I wanted that tomoe.
Yeah.
So bad. I wanted it so bad. I got the Sugumi, and it was like a pure type boost. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to build a pure type Afterglow, and that's going to be my main band. But then when I was looking, seeing what cards I could pull to make my band better, and like when they came out. And I was looking, and I was like, there's an event with a pure Afterglow. And then like it like caught on. I was like, maybe I could like tier this. So, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I did a trial run on Project Sekai of tiering, see how it go. It was horrible. It was so much more draining on Project Sekai. But then when Bandori came around, when Bandwagon came around, it wasn't like as bad. So I just kind of like, I don't hate it. Like, I don't hate tiering, but I don't love it either.
Okay. Well,
I'm not like excited to sit down and tier.
Well, that's obviously something like that's quite interesting, right? The fact that you thought this was like something that you could try. I think it's pretty interesting that you kind of like, you coming in relatively new, you kind of found the idea of like, oh, like this event was coming up. Like, I think for a casual player, they wouldn't really care or really think about, oh, what's an event that's coming up maybe like a couple months from now. So where did you find that resource of being like, oh, well, maybe I should be able to find out like what happens a couple months in the future?
I was really just like trying to see, because like when I got like into certain characters, I wanted to see what like cards they had. I was like,
okay.
Just curious because I didn't know anything. So I would like look up on Google, and I'd look up like tomoe card, and then I'd like just look at them through that. And then once I got like a little more like knowledgeable about skills and stuff, I started like planning what I was going to pull for, obviously. Like, I was like, okay, I'm going to pull for this 115 Himari, and then I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And then it just kind of like somewhere in there, I was like, maybe I should try. I actually met somebody just randomly during Little Rose Harmony that I was like, they like planted a seed in my head that I could tier, but I wasn't like positive on it. And then I just did it. So.
Wow. Well, there you go. So it's always the whale fluence, right? The whale fluence of someone else be like, hey, this tiering business could be pretty fun and exciting. And then you try it, and you might really enjoy it. You might not enjoy it, like what might have happened in Project Sekai when you first tried it. That's a pretty interesting strategy. I never thought about like someone using a different game to try out tiering, and I think that was a pretty good way of maybe a good like sort of test, because obviously we know that Project Sekai in the English server is a lot more competitive than the Bang Dream EN server. So I think that kind of prepped you pretty well, I imagine.
It was a experience. I spent so much money.
Oh no!
On that stupid event. I don't even open the game. All for a top 30. Like it was the worst. I'd never do it again.
That's some serious dedication. That's a pretty, I guess, expensive practice trial run, if I would say so for myself. But yeah, well, we'll definitely talk about your actual experience very soon, because I think your experience of getting second place in Bandwagon kind of leads to other side of the question that I will ask very shortly. But let's move back to ukeeo here, because for you, I'm sure that you going into tiering was maybe different. So how did you first hear about tiering, and what convinced you to start there?
Yeah. So when I first started playing, so like it was after I was like, okay, I wanna do better in this game. So I started looking up how to just get better in general. Eventually, I found your YouTube videos, like guide to flick notes or whole notes. Then there was like this one guide, I think it's called Guide to Tiering Servers. I watched that video. I was like, what is going on? I don't know what's happening. But it looks fun. It's not something I would personally do. I don't like at the time. I've never done any type of competitive video gaming or whatever. It's like, no, not for me. I just kept it at the back of my mind. And then moving forward a couple months, you started doing the podcast. And I remember watching the episode with Skitter where they talked about devotedly towards my dream. I was like, oh my gosh, these people are crazy. They play like this like super long hours. That's insane. But at the same time, it kind of looks fun. I kind of want to try it. So eventually, I decided to T100 the Ojamajo Hello Happy World collab with them. And that was my first time in a tiering server. And it was a fun event. Not the usual T100, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad that I, just like how we had shout outs to Ducky, who has kind of planted the seed of tiering into Davy's head. In a sense, I guess I was the one that planted the tiering into your head, ukeeo. Initially it was just to get better at the game, but as I call it, the Tug Tots, the ultimate guide to tiering servers video, Tug Tots kind of helped another podcast guest get into tiering. We had another person, a previous podcast guest, who also got influenced by that video. So I guess I might be to blame here. So I guess I would say I'm grateful or either apologetic for having made that video. So but anyway, you did mention how you eventually wanted to join like tiering servers thanks to my video, and you eventually started using that as a way to sort of start getting into the community and getting into events. How was that first experience like? Because again, for both of you, actually, you're not like, I would say, veterans in the game by any means, right? Got into the game relatively new. So ukeeo, what was that experience like when you first joined the tiering community?
I was very nervous. I remember after I joined the server for Ojamajo, I kept rereading the rules and like rewatching your video a ton of times. I don't want to mess up.
Oh, thanks for the ad revenue, ukeeo.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome for my service. But then, yeah, I really hated when they pinged standby because I was so nervous to join the room. But I was like, I have to. I'm here. And yeah, everyone was so nice. They're like, oh, you're new here. They were very understanding. I remember I grieved Juwon a lot of times, but they were very nice to me. And yeah, it was a good learning experience. I learned a lot during the event, especially because it was pretty woke. I played a lot.
Yeah, it was a pretty
lots of experience.
The collab event was pretty active, so I imagine it was quite popular, and a lot of people were playing and trying to get the same goals. But I'm glad that here that when you actually got into a tiering server, thanks to my sort of guidance, it wasn't like a I guess a traumatizing experience. That's the one thing I kind of hope that wish that wasn't the case. I think for most people, it's a really nice experience. So I'm glad that you had a good experience there, just to kind of get into the community there. Oh, that's good. That's good. I'll briefly ask you as well, Davey. Again, you also got into the community relatively recently. If anything, a little bit spontaneous. What was that like? What was your overall first impressions?
Well, my first time in a tiering server was the cool Pop and Party summer event that just happened right before Bandwagon. I joined 4 days in, only because they had recruited Ducky and they needed fillers, so I was there. And I was no stranger to filling. I spent 50 hours filling during Dinosaur Hagumi. I joined the Snipe Cord server. If people didn't know, I was this silly little sniping server that we have. But then after that was over, I was like, okay, I'm gonna tier Bandwagon. And I had nobody. I was pubbing it. I spent 7 hours pubbing Savior of Song at the beginning of the event. It was terrible. And then they changed their little server into a snipe server for me. It was very sweet. I was touched. Thank you, Lang. I was so moved. And then I don't know, tiering servers are scary. I freak out asking to be on a roster. It's the most nerve-wracking thing ever. It's literally so scary. I've DM'd Lang and Kay so many times, being I'm so scared to ask to be on this roster. It's horrible. So I don't know. I don't know a lot of people in the community, so it's still a little scary. It's still so scary.
That's fair. But at least with the few small connections that you built at the start, I'm sure they were able to sort of make that landing a lot softer for you. And I think you definitely consider them very good friends. So I think you definitely hit a good luck there when it comes to meeting at least a couple of few people that were really accepting and being able to help you tier and such. Oh, that's good. Okay, good. Now, what about you two together? How did you first know each other, right? Because of course, the community is pretty big, and obviously, there's a lot of there's a lot of individuals here. We all kind of know a very certain group of people. Where did that first start? Do you two remember?
It was very recently. It was.
So yeah, go ahead.
It was during the Cool Pop and Party event.
Oh, okay.
That was my first time ever being in the community ever. I've been in public word for a little bit, but I don't use it.
That's fair.
I don't know why I'm there. But yeah, we became friends during that Cool Pop and Party event. It was so nice. Ukeeo is so nice.
Well, but Ukeeo, this is your first time hearing Davey's voice.
I mean, yeah, he doesn't join VC.
I'm scared of joining voice chat. I can't help it. It's so scary.
Once you hear me, I'm crying.
Well, it's okay because I'm glad that you got the courage to join me in this this studio here, Davey, because of course we're definitely hear some really fun stories and on your end very soon on tiering. So I imagine, yeah, again, well, the great thing about tiering is even if you don't really know anyone, right? If you kind of know that someone is going for a similar goal, or you maybe so happen to be in the same tiering server, and you just kind of see the people around who are filling, and you really get to know each other. It's like very strange. Like, it just kind of happens that, you know, you end up getting to know people very well. So yeah, it's definitely very nice. Yukio, you want to add anything there?
Yeah, basically, so the same summer OP5 event server, I mean, we just started using to snipe every single event. We were like on a 5 event streak, so we would always like hang out in the server. I think that's how we got closer.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried.
Yeah, we're a little dirty snipers. It's like, okay, it's all Lang's idea. If it ever comes back to us, it was all Lang's idea.
Well, shout outs to our previous podcast guests. And, you know, they've definitely took a hold of both of you in terms of continuing to tier and continue to do what you can to get more tiering events and such. So we'll see where the future holds for this lovely sniping server, because I think the saddest part about it, because I am a part of it as well, I think the saddest part about it is that there's no like official name of it. Like, the server doesn't even have like an official name. Like, I think that's the saddest part. I think you guys have to figure something out here, like, quickly.
Yeah, so this is kind of related to us, but we used the server for How My Heart Sings, the RePHIL event, and at one point you were just called We Can Stop Sniping because
we can't stop sniping. We Can't Stop Sniping was a pretty good name, I think, personally.
Yeah.
But I don't know why we changed it.
How My Heart Sings, more like How My Heart Snipes. But yeah, that's just kind of how it is. So, you know, again, it's always really fun to hear these like little groups like going together and hearing their tiering experiences. So that's what we're going to transition into right now, which is hearing about some of your tiering experiences and just learning about how you got to where you are. I'm going to kind of go in chronological event order. So I'm actually going to start with you, Ukeeo, because your Zombieland Saga event was first, your T3. So give me a rundown about like what happened in terms of why need to go for T3. You've mentioned how you wanted to get for top 100 in Ojamajo. I'm sure you were able to get it and, you know, learned from that. But what kind of inspired you that T100 wasn't enough and you wanted to get not only like, you know, a T10 title, but actually a podium title?
For sure. So yeah, after getting my T100, I was like, maybe T10 is possible. So then, at that point, I just wanted to get more involved in the community, get to know more people. Eventually, I met Kay, and one day they wrote in a server. I don't know, like, hey, I'm going to try to go for podium during ZLS or something like SAGA. Like, oh yeah, let me join the server on the field for you. So then, moving forward, it was like 2 weeks before the event started. I was looking at my schedule for that week. I was like, oh, I'm pretty much free. Great, I can like fill a bunch. But then the whale thoughts, they started coming in, and I was like, if I'm willing to like spend that much time filling, I might as well just go for T10, right? So I joined the roster, and then we started playing the event. And I don't know, I was like, no, I'm just gonna play and keep up with K. Like whenever they sleep, I'm gonna sleep, and when they're playing, I'm playing. What I didn't realize was that I was basically playing T1 hours. So out of the sudden, I was in podium. I was like, what? And then, from there, the whale thoughts, they came in again. I was like, I'm just going to go for it, I guess. I'm in a pretty good spot to go for it. Might as well try.
Wow. Well,
that's...
that is something, right? It just kind of, and I think that's the one danger about, that's the one danger about tiering where like, you know, you might be tiering, you're having a good time, and then thoughts start to spiral in and be like, maybe I could do this, or maybe this could happen. And then, you know, it really does kind of go out of go out of control sometimes. But I think it's pretty interesting that initially you were just kind of thinking, oh, I'll just fill for the event. But then that sort of definitely that plan changed very quickly. Did you have any sort of sentiment with the event as a whole, like Zombieland Saga, or was it really just like a on the spot decision?
It was really on the spot decision. I am not a big Monster Fighter fan. I have never seen Zombieland Saga.
Oh no!
But I mean, Kay was playing it, and I'm a big Kay fan. So I guess that's motivating me to go for it.
Well, I mean, I think if you hold the Zombieland Saga T3 title, I think at the very least you owe yourself a watch of the series. I think.
I will one day.
One day, okay. Let's make sure Ukeeo does that. To all the viewers, we gotta make sure that's a responsibility he needs to take. So.
Okay.
So for you, right? Getting a T3, right? That's obviously very different, right, from my initial expectations. But like, how did you feel overall tiering that event? Like, did you feel any fatigue? Like, were you like really accustomed to the long hours of play? Like, how was that overall experience like?
I had an idea of what it was like. So, from like, I don't know, January until like April, I was feeling like pretty much every event. I was doing like 3 hours, feeling almost like a lot. I was feeling a lot, so I was getting used to just playing a lot. And then also during Popipa Bandori 3, I did a 24-hour run, like flameless. I just wanted to see how it goes, and it went well. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I think I can do it. Yeah, but at the same time, it's a whole different perspective when you're going for T10 podium. Like, it's just crazy because you gotta think of so many things, like people, like your sleep schedule, how you're gonna eat, and it was crazy. Thankfully, we had a bunch of mods that server. They literally carried me so bad. I really just had to play, and everything else, the mods are taking care of me. So I'm very thankful for that.
Okay, well, was there any particular strategy or anything that you figured out that was able to help you stay motivated in terms of tiering long hours? Was there anything to keep in mind?
It was basically me keeping up with Kay. I don't know. I just, yeah.
Just keeping up with other people, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's definitely a way to get motivated, right? If you always want to like kind of be on par with someone that you really want to help with tiering, it definitely helps, right? In terms of passing the time and yeah, because again, Ukeeo, you kind of again went into the tiering sort of scene relatively late, and then you just kind of like adjusted very quickly and were able to learn about tiering and really got into it really quickly. So it's just it's really neat to see that you were able to get into it very kud and actually be a pretty good tier in terms of like stamina and such.
Thank you.
Yeah, good. Any other notable stories from that event? Anything that sort of stuck out in terms of memories of that event?
To be honest, I don't really remember anything about the event. It's like a blur.
Oh no.
The only things I remember were like me VCing and like watching movies and stuff. But like, I don't know, like looking back, it doesn't feel like I was tiering. Just felt like I was just VCing with people. It's like my brain just blocks out all the A to Z spam, and I just remember the VCing part.
Oh no.
Well, it's terrible.
Well, at the very least, the JPEG gives you a little reminder that of all the troubles you've done in those 6 days. So
for sure.
Yeah, but
I'm the real JPEG.
Yeah, but big props to Ukeeo again. The fact that you kind of got inspired to do tiering because of my videos, and then look at you got a podium yourself soon after. So I would say that I'm pretty proud of you as well. Almost like a proud parent in a sense. Yeah, so yeah, very, very big props to you, Ukeeo. So yeah, big shout outs to you on that event.
Your service.
All right. Well, Davey, then it came to you, and we mentioned how you were initially pubbing, Save Your Song over and over again, and 7 hours in, you're already kind of looking bad on Bandwagon. You feel like it was kind of difficult, but what changed? What happened in that event in Bandwagon that maybe caught on and maybe were inspired, and then you eventually got a T2? Where did that all come from?
Well, I will say at the beginning of the event, I was holding that T1 down. That T1 was mine. Sino didn't stand a chance, personally, in my opinion. But a little while into the event, Lang and Kay immediately started DMing me, like tiering advice and stuff, and Lang made the whole server for me just so I could snipe their roster. It wasn't looking good. I got voted to 4th, 12 or 13 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so mad. I was so mad. But it's okay. It's okay, because I brought it back.
Yeah, you used that motivation, right, to bring it back.
The motivation came from, I was like, I can't let these people that I barely know, I can't let them, think I, failed. I have to, do somewhat good in this event. Otherwise, I'm going to feel like an absolute loser. So I just kept going and going and going. And then I think I went 40-something hours before I actually had to fall asleep. Because I had tiered 44 hours straight. Wow. Not Savior of Song. I had to stop.
Yeah.
But I had been up for 56 or somewhere between 56 and 60 hours. Because I had to work the same day the event started.
Oh, no.
So I had to get up at 6 a.m. that morning to get to work, ready to work 8 to 5. And then the event starts at 8, and I couldn't sleep. I was so nervous. I couldn't sleep.
Oh, no.
So I was so tired. But then when I woke up, I did a set. I was dying on normal A to Z. It was terrible. The worst thing ever.
Oh, no.
And then I got recruited to Sino's server for the T2. Mm-hmm. And it was everything went back from that. It was nice. Thank you, Sino.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's pretty cool that from just joining Lang's Summer Pop and Party server and then just kind of getting to know Lang and Kay. And again, these are very notable figures. We've talked about them plenty of times already, but yeah. It's just...
I don't know. I don't know about that Lang. Something about Lang. Kind of a bad influence. How do you say so myself? Now, Kay is definitely the best person I've ever met. I love Kay. Kay and I are best buds. Now, me and Lang, I don't know about that.
But I mean, regardless, right? The fact that you were able to get some really great kind of bonds there, and then when they noticed that you were both the two of them were realizing that you were trying to tier for that event, and they tried to support you on that process. I'm sure that you were quite I guess happy about that, and of course the fact that Sino did eventually have you join in and use his resources as well to help you on that journey. And I'm sure that gave a sense of relief, and also probably a really happy sense of accomplishment as well once you actually got that T2.
Oh, I felt so good. I felt not I was smiling for 4 hours straight after the titles came out. I'm not even gonna lie. I was so happy. Yeah.
What do you think was I mean, you've already briefly shared about some of the challenges you faced throughout the event, but what would you say was the most difficult part about that particular T2?
Well, it was a dead event, so I wouldn't say really a lot of it was very difficult. Once I got into it, knee deep into the event, it was very in the grave. Mm-hmm. But the most difficult part was trying to because I'm guilty of looking at the tracker. I was looking at the tracker a lot, the 2-minute tracker, man. And I was seeing Sino and the T2 and the T3, or not T3. It was not the T3. It was Curbs. They were stressing me out. I was they're all closing in, and then I got voted, and it was the worst feeling ever. and I like had to take a break. It was terrible. It was so bad. That was the only, I would say that was, but I also, like, that wasn't my first time tearing, but I would say that was the worst, like, feeling I've ever had before. Because I was like, maybe I can do it, and then it was like shut down with like 15 minutes. Like in 15 minutes, I went down from like first to like fourth. It was terrible.
Boy. Wow. Yeah,
it was so devastating. Like I had to like I took a break. I like had to stop. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
it was so bad.
As you mentioned, right, the sort of the motivation, maybe a little bit of anger, right, it kind of inspired you that okay, you couldn't give up, right, and then you kind of used that to push you forward.
Yeah, there was no way I was going to give up because I was like, I can't believe I spent so long in first. It was only because they did a song set, like of the song.
Yeah.
For the song tiering, but
I see.
I was like, there's no way like I spent that long on like the podium that I'm going to like give up.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when Curb stopped playing, I got back in there. So, and it was fine. I was back to normal. So.
Yeah, what you know, once you see instead of your like a T10 PNG, there's like a little 3 or 2 or 1 on the PNG, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is a little bit of
that's the best motivation. Seeing myself on that podium, I was like, I can do it. Like I can just do it. Like I'll just stay up for the entire night. I won't sleep.
A little bit of dopamine here and there, but yeah, as you mentioned earlier, Davey, like one of the, I think Lisa Bot, like, and just as a like a separate discussion on the side, yeah, Lisa Bot could be like your best friend and also your worst enemy. Like she like just gives you, she just straight up spits facts, and there's not much you can really do about it, right? Like she tells you what's that, and you know you have to take that word for how it is. It's either, you know, she really helps you to motivate you, or she gives you the worst motivation of your life. So, you know, I think a lot of
something about seeing Lisa Bot show you those numbers growing smaller and smaller in between them is just like the worst thing ever. It's okay. It's okay. You take that and you turn it into motivation. So it all works out. It's a big circle.
Like a bit of a funny story, the server, I don't think they had a public 2-minute tracker. So
here we go.
In the bot commands, I would see Davey like spamming T10 every like 2 minutes.
Like not every 2 minutes, it wasn't that bad.
Okay,
I'd wait like 20 minutes. I'd wait like 20 minutes. It's not my fault. Blame Lang. It's another reason to blame Lang.
Oh,
because Lang had a private tracker.
Oh boy, Lang scapegoated again.
Lang had a private tracker, and they did not know it was private. So here I was in Pubcorn typing .t10 every. That was the only time that was my first time using Pubcorn.
Oh boy. Yeah, I imagine that was a very stressful thing. Again, Lisa Bot, use wisely, everyone. I know Lisa Bot's dead right now. Press F for Lisa Bot. Press F for Lisa Bot at the time of this recording. But yeah, do use Lisa Bot sparingly, because sometimes she's very helpful. Other times she definitely gives a lot of unnecessary stress. So just be careful there. So. Yeah, but Davey, again, regardless, getting T2 bandwagon, I'm sure, you know, was a very big accomplishment, as you mentioned, that you were very happy about that. Any other last kind of thoughts or anything else you want to share about that event that you recall?
I wish I never said yes, because the T2 is ugly. I'm sorry. The T2 is so ugly.
Oh, no.
I wish I never said, yes, Sino, I'll join your roster. It's so bad.
Well,
it was terrible.
Well, who knows? Maybe in the future you'll be able to bring it back again, just like you said earlier, to bring it back, and maybe the nice, pretty one title will come up in the future, which we'll talk about at the end. But yeah. Before we do, I just want to also briefly touch base on the fact that you also got 5th place with Fly with the Night. And that's another T10 on your belt on an event that maybe wasn't the most active either, Davey. But you know, well, do you remember anything about that event? Your overall thoughts about that T10?
That event was draining. Before anybody says it wasn't active, it was active. There was like 4 people going for T10 at the end. It was terrible.
Oh boy.
I had to change my park, I think, 3 times. I actually wasn't going for T10 for that event at first because I don't know. I was like matching my friend Ducky. Like I was matching them. Like we were gonna match T100s and just be nice. It was just gonna be nice and chill.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, we were just tearing because I had to work at 5 a.m. that day, so I was gonna stay up all night and just go to work. So I was just tearing to like pass the time. And it was like fine. Like I made it up to 3rd and I was like, maybe we should like I have a screenshot that when I tweeted my like letter for that event.
Yeah.
Like it was like a screenshot of our DMs of us being like, should we snipe the T10? Like, should we snipe this T10? And then we just decided to do it. It was horrible. It was the worst. I had to do work. I was working, I think I worked 32 hours during that 6-day event. So every like ounce of my free time was not spent doing something I wanted to do. It was spent more tearing.
Yeah.
For a title that you can't even read. So
what is it with you with tiering events with titles that you end up not enjoying?
It just happens. You know, they say the memories is more important than the title.
Yeah.
Someone told me that. Someone special told me that. Okay. They know who they are.
I'm
but
sure
I also don't believe them. So
I don't know. I think tiering is all about the experience, you know, personally. But you know, everyone has their own ways. So regardless, Davey, I can imagine that you had maybe some difficulties or challenges in an event because I think people, if they like initially go into a tiering event without maybe some preparation and preparation not only in terms of like resources, in terms of time, but also just mentally as well, right? If you weren't initially thinking about going for a goal and it suddenly you switch gears and want to go for it, I think it's just that you're always going to play catch up at that point, and it just always feels like it's going to be a lot more of a challenging feat. So I can definitely imagine that T5, even though you know people might say it's not, it was pretty easy. I imagine it probably I don't think any tiering is that easy. So. It's definitely still a lot of work you got to do for sure. Yeah.
It was not fun. It was not fun. It was like actually like horrible.
Did you find some of these titles that you got, like the podium, the T10? Did you find those maybe more challenging than even some of the did you find it more challenging than maybe some of the T50s or T100s? Or maybe was there like a T50 or T100 that you actually found more challenging?
Well, the answer to that question is I do not have a single T50 or T100.
That's so
or
funny.
T300 or T500. I don't have any of those.
It's literally go big or go home.
I have one title that's T1000, and then everything else is beneath that. So, like, I think I got all the like everything I'm not tiering. I get like T5000 if I'm like lucky.
If you're lucky, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I have a friend who's very similar, like she has like a go big or go home. She has like a podium, not podium, a T10, and like a couple of T100s, and like that's it. Like, and then there's like no other titles after that. So it's pretty interesting. So yeah, definitely a big go big or go home kind of player you are. So so in terms of like that Morph event again, anything that you want to say about the event, or anything that maybe you want to warn about when it comes to viewers who may have thoughts of suddenly going for a T10 unexpectedly?
Well, the only reason I even tiered that was because I did like 190 polls for Spurta Teamwork Toko when it ran originally, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this card to work. Like, I spent money on this card, I'm gonna put it to work.
That's fair. That's a fair mentality.
But tiering with no preparation, it's like so hard because I have to like balance everything else I'm supposed to be doing while playing silly little rhythm games on my phone for 8 hours at a time.
Yeah.
It's like tiering unprepared is like the worst. Like it's like the worst thing ever. So
especially I think for I think the main thing for sure, again, a lot of people maybe think it's like the time based or maybe the resources based. I also really think it's just mentally as well. If you really didn't have the heart to put into it and you suddenly have to like force yourself like mentally to try and do it, I don't think it's that easy either. So you were able to persevere though, so big props to you, Davey, for that. So all right.
Thank you so much. Keep the compliments coming. Please, I need them.
Wow, Davey, you are so amazing.
Thank you so much. I just need the boost.
Well, both of you, I think we'll probably wrap up pretty soon with regards to this episode here. But again, both of you, thank you so much for taking time like this to share some of your lovely tiering stories. It's honestly, I think it was great to hear from both of you, especially from like tiers who are getting in on a relatively newer basis. Like for newer tiers, it's hopefully some inspiration that even someone getting into the game relatively relatively late into the game, you still are able to hopefully get to a tiering title of your own. So yeah, so again, big props to both of you on your achievements. Before we go, I do want to quickly hear from the two of you any of your future tiering plans, if you have any, and like what do you plan to do in the future in terms of tiering. So ukeeo, we'll start with you. Any future plans with your tiering?
Yeah, I have a couple events planned. I'm not entirely sure if I can talk about it.
If you don't want to share, feel free to don't. You don't have to. Just say it's private. But if there's anything that you want to share, if you're open to sharing, feel free to do so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still kind of new to this whole T10 thing, so I'm not really sure how it works. But yeah, I have a couple events I want to try. But then you can also probably see me like randomly on the leaderboard someday.
Okay.
If the base, they decide to snipe an event, I'll just do it.
Okay, so you'll lurk under the bushes and we'll work from there, eh?
For sure.
Okay. Well, good luck there. And ukeeo, if you do end up sharing your plans, for sure, I'm sure the listeners out here who will eventually follow you on social media will be very happy to help you. And Davey, I believe you might be having a tiering event or tiering plan very, very soon.
I will say I do have a very, very soon event I'm tiering.
No shot.
Sadly.
Crazy.
It may or may not have ukeeo involved.
Oh, okay.
It also may or may not have Kevs involved.
Kevs?
Just saying, Kevs and I have the same titles.
Kevs?
All around the board.
Oh no, not Kevs.
Because I love Kevs. Like, I just can't keep off of Kevs. So. Kevs and I have the same titles. We have all the same titles.
Not the highest ranked player in ENdori, Kevs.
Kevs makes me blush. I love Kevs. Kevs is so nice.
I love Kevs.
Sweet. He's the nicest person out of this little snipe server. Real. That's the realest.
So real.
Playing is the worst.
Yeah, we could.
Sorry, that was mean. Sorry, I was lying.
Well, I'm sure that you two, everyone in that group, will continue to bond and cheer the both of you on very soon in your upcoming events. So all the best in your future plans, and yeah, we'll hope that maybe we'll see you get you on the leaderboard sooner rather than later. So yeah. Well, again, both of you, thank you so much for taking the time to join the RePHIL studio today. I also want to give the both of you the opportunity to share some final words and any shout outs that you want to give to the people as well. So ukeeo, any last words and final shout outs that you want to give?
I don't know, just thank you for having me. As I said, I really got into cheering because of the podcast, so I guess you came full circle.
Yeah, 50 episodes later from what you've watched, you're now on here. So, everything really does go full circle.
It was scripted. But yeah, thank you for having me. And I guess shout out to the base, to the snipe cord. I love them so much. Thank you for everything. Love you guys.
All right. right. Well, thanks again, Ukeeo, for joining. Davi, any last words from you? Any shout outs as well?
My last words. If you're thinking of tiering an event I'm tiering, don't.
Wow.
To make it easier for the both of us.
Threatening.
Please snipe Please snipe
I want to give a big shout out to Snipe Cord. They're my faves. They're my faves. I love Snipe Cord. Especially Maddie. Maddie's my favorite. Because Ukeeo didn't say it. Sorry.
Aww.
Also, my agent is telling me to promote something called Mal Chuni Comeback. I don't know. I saw that.
Your agent.
Thank you, Sen. Thank you, Sen. Shout out to Sen.
Oh boy.
I hear I love that one really good song, Sunset Bandwagon. That's a really good song. So, shout out to Dev and Ducky, all my faves. If you know if you're my fave, like you'll know. So not Lang.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Poor Lang. Unfortunate, but again, it's funny because I like, it's so funny how like this whole episode was like Ukeeo is like all pure and like, oh, like this is all like what I'm doing in tiering, and Davi is definitely a little bit more like, has a little bit of a menacing aura to it.
That's the dynamic we have.
Yeah, that's our dynamic. I recently got outed in Snipe Cord for having 54 pages of hate being throughout the server. It was horrible.
I guess so.
Thank you, @Daniel. I hate @Daniel, by the way.
Oh no. Oh no.
The worst person ever. Worst person ever for putting me on blast. Actually, worse than Lang.
Oh no.
Just kidding. That's not possible. That's not possible. Just kidding. I love Danny and Lang, but Danny did start a shame channel on me. So
the shame channel.
Oh man. Again, that just shows how close everyone is in that group. So it's just, it's really fun to see, despite again the slight menacing aura that you have. But again, both of you, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you to the two of you for joining, and for everyone else who are listening to this podcast. Don't forget all of your favorite podcast episodes of the RePHIL Studio are available on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And of course, feel free to join the Anga Academy Discord server. Links in the description below, where you can interact with special guests like these two throughout the time. And of course, be on the lookout for future episodes in the future. So that's it for this episode, everyone. The set has been complete. Get your cans ready. We'll refill to 99 on the next set. But until then, thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.